Cheryl, bye.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hi.
I miss you. Oh
You
my
look
God.
so good. I'm so proud of you. I'm happy for you.
Thank
Like
you.
I have to say it, then you can bleep it, but you rock. Like, dude.
Honestly, it has been like the most intense journey of my life the
Of
last 10 months.
course.
Like,
Yeah.
like just every day, just it's been more of a mind game than anything, but can't believe it.
Well, and then you throw in motherhood, you know,
Exactly.
like
That's
motherhood
hard.
on top of everything else. Like
Yeah,
you have to you have to be on your game to be a mom. Like
I
there's no
know.
off days. And you are getting it done. Like I saw it, I get emotional when I think about it because I know like
Yeah,
I know what it is to be like the best,
yeah,
like, and you were the best at what you do. And then your career's ending or you have injuries, and then you're forced to have to quit basically because of injuries. See, I'm crying now. And
oh,
then you go into motherhood, and then you want to be the best mom you can be. And so
yeah.
when I see you coming back and not just out there going through the motions, right? Like you are killing it. I was like, yes, ma'am.
I'm not killing it. Like I'm
Oh,
just, I
where you were.
no, like I can't move like I used to. Obviously, like I can't jump, I can't run as fast, but I'm pretty strong. Like I'm very strong still. So that's like the only thing that I think has gotten me, to this point. So
Yeah, but that's where you have to just your not your age, but your knowledge of the game and your smarts. Like you have to do stuff differently because of that. But you
yeah,
can still do stuff at your age that younger kids or girls or whatever that younger women can't do. Just your knowledge of the game, though, seriously,
mm.
will give you an advantage over a lot of players. So anyway, I miss you too.
Well, Cheryl, I have to say, I am so excited about doing this interview with you. I've always had just such warm feelings and love for you, and I'm going to tell you why. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but in 2001, when I was drafted to the WNBA, right?
Yeah.
I was so scared, and I felt like I was on a bit of an island. I felt like I didn't have any friends. I felt very much alone over there. I'm very young and immature and all that sort of stuff too.
I kind of
At the
remember
first,
that.
yeah. So at the first All-Star game, you took me under your wing. You took me out. You became my friend, and to have the GOAT become my friend and support me and include me in stuff was like the one of the defining moments, I think, particularly early on in my career. You made me feel like I was welcome and a part of something bigger than just, being an international basketball player in the WNBA. So
Mhm.
ever
Mhm.
since that moment, you have been so special to me, and I'll never ever forget that. And then also, I
Mhm.
don't know if people know who are watching, you actually did my introduction at the Hall of Fame, which was so special as well because, like I've always idolized you. You've been a teammate, you've been a great friend, and
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me
I
cry.
just love
Stop
you.
it.
Presenting Lauren to the Hall of Fame is her longtime rival on the international stage and a teammate in Seattle in 2008, the Texas Tornado, Sheryl Swoopes.
But you were the first person to take me under a wing, and I just, that was so special. So thank you very much.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Listen, when I got the call, gosh, I can't believe you're gonna make me cry. First of all, so deserving, right? Like it was just a matter of time. So when I got the call from Fran, and said you wanted me to present you to the hall, like I literally cried. Because first of all, it's an amazing honor, right? And I was sad that you couldn't be here,
Mm.
but like, how am I going to say no that I can't do it? You got me crying on here. So I
Cheryl.
want to say thank you for even thinking of me because there's so many million amazing people that you could have chosen. So it was an honor for me. But when you talk about 2001 and we were both young. You were much younger than me, but to me, Lauren, it's always been bigger than basketball.
Yeah.
Right? Like we compete against each other, and when we're on the court, like you're my friend, but not like that. Do you know what I mean? Because you're
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
for me, I'm coming for you. But there's a mutual respect that we have for each other. So when I look at something like the All-Star game, to me, that's an opportunity for us to get to know each other, to have fun. And yeah, you're young, but you're coming from a whole different country.
Yeah.
And you're in a space that it's unfamiliar in a way. So
Yeah.
to me, it was all about wanting to make you feel warm and feel welcome, and you're a pretty cool chick. So I was like, yeah.
You're my woman.
So I have always felt about you. It's never changed. I got mad love and respect for you. So I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Back at ya. Well, I guess, in the lead up to the inaugural WNBA season, there's been a lot of talk about it, particularly after last year and the documentary and everything. But I guess just from your perspective, what was it like? What was the lead up to that, and your role, being the first ever player drafted to the WNBA? Like, what was that time like?
It's crazy. I don't think any of us thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Until like the first game. I remember being pregnant with Jordan in the hospital, getting ready to give birth. Actually, I just given birth to Jordan, and I was watching the first game between the Liberty and the Sparks. So for me, I think that was the moment that I actually said, this is really happening for us. Prior to that, though, just, after the 96 Olympics, and if you watch the documentary, like it tells all of it, like how we all felt about it. And besides the pressure we had to win, obviously that's the number one goal, is to win gold. But we also felt the extra pressure of, we have to do well. Right? Because the possibility of having a women's professional league here in the States, and not just any professional league, but you're talking about a league that's backed by the NBA.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't get any better than that, right? So we felt that extra pressure to do well, and not just in games, but practices and, off the court, because there's so many people watching us. And, personally for me, I took it as a personal challenge, where it was bigger than basketball per se. Yeah. I wanted to be that face, and I wanted to be the name, and I wanted to be the person that when people thought about the WNBA, they thought about every single player that was on that 96 team, and everything that we stood for, and everything that we represented. So it was a lot of pressure, but it was one, I think, that we were all ready for that challenge.
Yeah, it was such an incredible time. I mean, for me personally, I was like 15 years old. I was watching from Australia the first game, and I was just like, wow, this is where I'm going. This is actually real. Like this, I've got a pathway, So thank you. It was, watching you, and just all admiration.
But Lauren, to that point though, sorry, I think that's what everybody talks about, the players that are here. But to me, that's what made and continues to make the WNBA so good and so competitive, is the fact that we have so many international players. Yeah. I mean, you talk about Australia. We've had some incredible Australian players come over and play. I mean, you and Timsy and Sandy, who's now coaching in the league. And, there's so many Australian players that we could name. So without you all and every other international player that we've had come over and play, the league wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a ride for me for sure. It's awesome. I guess, like there were so many great players before you guys, the 96 team and everything like that. Like, who did you look up to? Who were your sort of role models and the people that you wanted to follow in their footsteps?
It's crazy when I think about that. I honestly never really got an opportunity to watch women play basketball on television. Yeah. And I really only heard about women playing during the Olympics. But I was so Lynette Woodard, right? Lynette Woodard is one of the players that I remember, and I remember her because of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
her
right.
being the first female to play with the Harlem Globetrotters. And it wasn't until I got older that I started doing my own homework and research and understanding who, like I heard of Cheryl Miller, but that was when I got older, so I hate the fact that I never really got to watch her play unless it's going back watching their documentary or something. But, Cheryl Miller and Nancy Lieberman get an opportunity to play against her for a couple of years in the WNBA. But there were, to your point, there were so many greats that came before we did that unfortunately people don't really know about because we didn't get an opportunity to watch them play.
Yeah. Women supporting women in basketball. How do you see that? Like, and have you experienced that? Because like, from my experience, like there are people like you who really fully embraced me, supported me, helped me and everything. But then there's other people that don't do that,
Agreed.
And that's in all forms of life. And in basketball, it's pretty prevalent because it's competitive and people are like fighting for the same jobs and opportunities. How do you articulate what that means in sport?
So, you're right. First of all, so when you talk about women in sports and not just basketball, but we'll talk about basketball in particular, it bothers me when so many times we as women talk about men not supporting us, right? And men not showing us the respect that we deserve. And I agree with that. But I always say it has to start with us, right? We have to support each other first. We have to show each other that respect first before we can expect to get it from anyone else. And, back in the day when we played and when the league first started, there was definitely a lot of respect throughout the league. But personally, I also dealt with players throughout the league who, for whatever reason, didn't show that support. And here's how I feel. What's for you is for you, right? So there were a lot of people when I got my own shoe, there were a lot of players that said, I would much rather go and buy a man's shoe and wear a man's shoe than wear a woman's shoe. And to me, my thing is, whether you wear my shoe or not, I don't really care. But let's talk about helping grow the game and opening doors and giving girls and women more opportunities. And to me, that was a perfect opportunity to do that. And I also think social media plays a tremendous role in the growth of the game and where the league is today and just opportunities that it continues to provide for the players today.
Like what we sort of touched on it with social media and the platform that the girls have now. Would you see that as probably the biggest sort of difference in women's sport now, and like what's lifting women's sport up? Do you think that's like what do you think is like taking women's sport to this next level?
I do. I think social media is probably the biggest thing I see.
Yeah.
And the reason, I think it's a couple of things. Social media, I think is number one. But then I also think because of social media, you now have all these other athletes, in particular male athletes, right? Whether that's NBA, NFL, tennis, who are real, not that they didn't support it back then, but they're really like embracing it. And I don't want to say giving power to the women, but the unfortunate thing, Lauren, is when men step up and say, oh my God, watch the W, they're great. People listen.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, through social media, it's really taken it to a completely different level. And I think the women are capitalizing off of it. And the other thing is, because of that also, I think they're also not afraid to be themselves, to just speak up and whatever, and that's a reason why the league has changed a lot more, or just things are very different, for the players today than they were back then.
Yeah, and I think like you said, they're not afraid to speak up, whereas back in my day, I've feel like I just had to be thankful that I had the opportunity to, you know, get out there and play and be a professional. Whereas now they're like, nah, bugger that. That's not enough. We want, you know, we want different opportunities. We want resources. We want everything around us that we deserve. And I think that's awesome.
Well, it is awesome. But, you know, they also get to do that because there were people who came before them, right? Like, even though, and you were a player that you would speak your mind, though. You know, it is what it is. You would speak your mind. But I think because of that, now players today, and a lot of them are more together as a whole, and that's powerful. When you have 144 players that are saying, listen, this isn't right, that's not right, we're going to stick together, and that when you do that, things have to change.
Yeah. So for you, like in your career, obviously you had Jordan with you, and like I know he was around a lot because I got to play with him and I knew him as a little boy. Beautiful. And how did you, like, I've never really asked you, and I think now that I'm a mother, I'm like, God, how did she do that? Like, how did you do that, being essentially a single mom, and you know, playing and doing everything that you did at such a high level for so long? Like, how did you manage that?
I mean, it was hard, you know, for me. And it's something that I honestly never really talked about, but I even dealt with the guilt of being a mom, a working mom, right? And yeah, my job was a little different, but I still had to be away from my son at times. So I even dealt with oh my goodness, like, my son, I'm away from my son. And so I dealt with that guilt. But the other part of that for me that was very important, and I know you have too, it's important that you have that great support system around you. And honestly, you know, without my mom, especially during the height of my career, without my mom being there saying, I got him, right? Like, yeah, I had a nanny, and there were times where he would be with his dad when he was younger, but for the most part, it was me and my nanny and my mom. But even though when he was with my nanny, I still felt like, oh my goodness, is she going to take care of him the way I would?
Yeah.
But I never felt like that when he was with my mom. And so to me, if I had to tell a mom today who's struggling with that, I would say for me, the biggest thing that helped me be successful was absolutely having a great support system. Because, you know, and you know this, you can't do it by yourself. As much as we want to be great and we think, you know, we're invincible and we can do it all.
Yeah.
You have to have a great support system around you that can help you in situations like that, but also that wants to see you be successful. That's
the clincher right there. I feel that at the moment. Like, obviously this basketball journey that I've been on, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my parents. In fact, my children are at home in Albury right now with my parents. Like, they have supported me. They've sort of said, we'll put our lives on hold so that you can fulfill your dream, and we'll help you with the kids. So it's been without that support system, there's no way I could be here as a single mum. That sort of leads into just gender specific, you know, issues that relate to women in sport. Is there anything else that you sort of see in that area? Like were there other sort of gender specific challenges that you faced during your career?
Well, I mean, first of all, you talked about being a mom, but just the whole journey of a pregnancy. Yeah. Right. And I say this jokingly at times, but it's true, because when a male athlete, whether that's their wife or their girlfriend or just someone they're dating, right, when their significant other gets pregnant, it doesn't really affect them. You're not going to miss practices, games, or any of that. You may miss a game or whatever when your significant other is giving birth. But being a female athlete, from a mental standpoint, at least for me, like, that was tough for me to deal with, because my entire life from high school on, I was always a certain weight, a certain size. I knew my body, like I had that down. Yeah. But when I got pregnant, mentally, it affected me from a standpoint of, like, how is this going to affect my body? How is this going to affect my career? Will I be able to give birth and come back from it and not only be good, but I want to be great.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that on a daily basis of worrying about how is this pregnancy going to affect me? And that probably bothered me more so than the actual birth of my child, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense. A lot.
And I mean, Lauren, I think the other thing too is, just being a female athlete, we struggle and deal with so many different things that men just don't have to. And one, just people always questioning, like, are you good enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for me, I just got to a point where I didn't let it bother me, but it's stuff that I continue to, even today, I continue to see it. I continue to hear it. And that goes back to your question earlier. I think as women, it's important that we continue to support each other and lift each other up, because we have so many people who try to pull us down every single day, that we have to stick together in moments like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. So what have you been doing like post-retirement? I mean, I know you coached for a little while. How did you find that? Like you were the GOAT. Like, absolutely, you are the GOAT. In my eyes, you are the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving from, being that superstar to life after basketball and coaching, how did you find that? Like, and how is that different? What are the challenges? And then dealing with athletes?
Hated it.
I found it really hard too. So I've got some stories for you.
Well, it's I got stories for you off record. Listen, here's my thing. So right now I currently work for Nike, and I absolutely love my job because it keeps me involved in sports.
Mm-hmm.
The part that bothers me is I don't feel like I'm being able to make a difference in these young girls' lives the way I know I could. But on the coaching side of it, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
I tried it. I do. I think the players today are just very different than we were. And I learned very quickly that you have to meet players where they are. And so for me, if I have a player that says to me, I want to be great, like I want to be the best, I want to play in the league, I want to play in the Olympics, I hear you, right? Then let me help you get there.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that's what you want and you don't want to put the work in.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's what I struggled with, is not forcing players to be that, because if you say that's not what you want, then that's not what you want, and that's okay too. But if you say to me, Coach Swoopes, I want to be the best, I want to be great, I want to be an Olympian, I want to be a champion, then I know what it takes to get there.
Right.
So let me help you.
Yeah.
But I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was the part that I battled with when I had some players, that's what they wanted. Some players were like, oh, I'm just, I got a scholarship, I just want to graduate. That's fine too. And so I do think it's hard when you go from being a great player, right? Being at the top. Now all of a sudden you're retiring and it's like, where do I go? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, trying to find, where do you fit now? Like, what do I do now? And so I tried the coaching thing. I was like, that ain't it. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, I think, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's one of those things where you know exactly what it takes to get to that very top level. And a lot of kids want it. Of course, they see it. They're like, yeah, the NBA, the WNBA, that's where I want to be. But they have no appreciation for the amount of work, physically and mentally, that it takes to that point.
And I think sacrifices and the commitments, all of that stuff it takes.
And I think that when you start, it does become overwhelming. I think for the younger athletes, they sort of, when you go, right, okay, that's what you want, I'll take you there. It's too much, like it's too much work, So it's a mindset that professional athletes are instilled with, and I think that it's very rare, and
not
it's
many
hard to
people
try.
Have it. Not many people have that mindset. Because to your point, they see it and it looks good. It's like, oh my God, but you have no idea what it takes to get there. And I say this to people all the time. You all see the finished product. Do you know what I mean? You see the games, you see the fun part of it. You don't see all the sacrifices and the tears and the hurt and the pain and the anger and the injuries you don't see all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you. I feel that right there. I don't want to be a coach either. But I think it takes a special person to want to really coach. And I think it's harder for professional athletes to move into that role. Like it's a special one.
Yeah, but you know what? But there's still so many other ways that we can impact their lives, and it doesn't have to be coaching. And I learned that after the fact.
Yeah. This is another one, just going back to being a mum and everything. Like, in your opinion, what can be done, like even nowadays, to better support single mums who are athletes, like better support or working mums, or coaching mums? It doesn't matter. Like,
wow. Without getting political, I would say honestly, one thing that I think would be huge would be free childcare.
Oh, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Like I don't know how you make that happen, but in a perfect world, like there's so many moms who struggle with that, because like for us, I know you had your kids afterwards, but like for me, it was never an issue me taking Jordan to my job to work, right? I could take him to the gym, I could take him on trips, but there's so many working moms that don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So now with just the world, like so many people are struggling. So wouldn't it be great if there was free childcare some kind of way where moms, and especially if it's a single mom, can say, you know what, this is how I get back on my feet. I have a child, but I don't have to worry about expenses like daycare and things like that, because there's free childcare somewhere, and I can drop my child off and I can still go to work and focus on work, knowing that my kid's okay. But I also think, and I do think the WNBA has gotten better with this since we played, just mental health awareness, and just someplace for athletes to go to where they can talk to someone about what they're dealing with and struggling with. Like, I had that, but the only person I talked to myself about it. I didn't talk to my mom. Like, I didn't have anybody. And it just knowing that it's there and it's available, whatever it is you're dealing with and you're struggling with. And for some people, just the struggle of trying to figure out when can I take time off to have a child? Because as a female athlete, for those who want to have kids, that's our reality.
Yeah.
I didn't plan it. It just happened. Like, I don't even know how I would have planned it. You know what I mean? Because we're so busy. And for us, well, not us anymore, but for the players today, like, just playing year round, like it takes a toll on you physically and mentally.
Yeah, right. It does, for sure. I feel that.
And I didn't even do it as much as a lot of players. I just was like, that's not for me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably really all we need to sort of touch on. But I guess, well, lastly, what's in your future? So you're with Nike now. You're going to sort of stay with them for the foreseeable future. Like, how else are you going to try and, like you were talking about before, but trying to impact the sort of younger generation and give them the insights to, to become the best that they can be? Like,
well, so the other thing besides Nike is I have my nonprofit that I'm getting started doing some things with, but for me, it's always about the community and being in the community and giving back to the community. I actually have a free basketball clinic that I'm doing, or camp that I'm doing next week for 3 days. So one thing that I'm planning on doing is actually, I guess you could say, taking it on the road. So I want to do like a Sheryl Swoopes traveling basketball camp where we're going to different cities or different states and we're doing the camp. But on one day of the camp, the afternoon will be basketball, but the morning session will be more of like what you and I are doing. So I'm going to bring different women in from different professions to sit down and have a conversation with the young women that are there, and give the young women an opportunity just to ask questions, you know, because the reality, Lauren, is as much as you want to be a professional athlete, that may not be for you.
Yeah.
You know, so give them other opportunities and other professions and other women that they can look up to and say, oh, I didn't even know that existed. Yeah. Or maybe you did, but you didn't know exactly what that person does. So that's actually something that I'm working on doing, because like I said, I do want to continue to make an impact on young women. And I think that's a way I can do it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I'm not coming out of retirement, baby. only LJ can do that.
Oh, girl, I'm telling you, it has been a bloody, oh God, it's all here. It's hard.
Listen, kudos to you. Like I already have respect for you, but I got mad love and respect for you. Like,
wow,
I am in your corner.
Fall flat on my face. That could happen. Hopefully I don't fall flat on my face, because that could happen.
Guess what? If you do, you get up and you keep going. That's it.
That's all we ever do. We just keep on. You know?
Yes, ma'am.
You know it. Oh, babe, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, so much love for you. I love you too. Yeah.
Next time you come to the States, let me know. I'm gonna figure it out so I can see you.
Look, I love you, and let's stay in touch.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.